plastic or colonoplastic. So many departments and so many treatments are given. Similarly, hell is a word where every kind of sinful activity has a different departments. So when you read this particular scripture, then you learn so much about the sinful activities and so much about the hell. Hell is a general word for us, but in this particular scripture, it is defined and explained to the extent that we really get scared of committing any kind of sinful activity. So he spent many, many years in hell. And then the time came, what to do with this soul now? He went through all the punishment in the hell. So now he should be going back to the cycle of birth and death for 8,400,000 species of life. Now, where to begin? Because 8,400,000 lives are not like life number 1 and life number 2. It is based on what you were interested in the previous life. For example, here we just read that there is a super soul in our heart. And super soul knows what exactly the soul wants, what his desire was at the time of death. So Susharma always wanted to work and work. And that's why they say, let us give him a chance to become a bull so that he can work and work. So he became a very strong and beautiful bull. And the owner put him in the market. And one person who didn't have a leg, Lord Vishnu is explaining, person bought him with a lot of money, a rich man, but he didn't have one leg. He had only one leg and he didn't have another leg. So he was handicapped and he says, well, I'm handicapped. I'm not able to go around. I'm not going to have so much mobility and my dreams will be shattered. So what I will do, whatever I want to do in my life, I will do it through this bull. So he was also a workaholic, but his body was not able to cooperate him because he was handicapped. So he got this done through the bull, to the extent that 24 hours a day, work and work. So bull inside his heart was very happy that at least he is busy 24 hours a day. But he could only work for 8 hours. Lord Vishnu says after 8 hours, he was worn out, going on the steep hills with a lot of load and all that, One day he collapsed. And his eyes were open, looking at the sky, and his mouth was foaming, and he was vomiting, and his tongue came out of his mouth, and he was heavily breathing, but he could not leave his body because of his desires to work more and more. So what happened is that ultimately, people around him, there was a crowd. What happened when the bull fell down? And they say, well, he could not take the labor anymore. And now he has to die, but he cannot leave his body. So in the crowd, there was a woman. Man is hard at heart. They are very hard. They have not that much feeling. But the women are very soft. So one woman came. Unfortunately, she was a prostitute. But she came forward and she looked at the sky with the folded hands and she said, "Oh my Lord, I don't have anything to offer because all I did was the sinful activities in my life. But if I ever did anything pious in this life or even in the previous life, I give it to this bull and may he live in peace, right? May he die in peace. So, bull suddenly moved his neck towards the prostitute, looked at her, and peacefully left the soul. And everybody clapped and they said, "My dear woman, you are great. You are so pious that the bull could leave this soul." She says, no, I don't even remember anything good I did. All I did was bad. But I don't know, it worked. So the bull goes up there, who is Susharma himself. And then the Yamaraja says, "Oh, you are back. Only 8 years. You could not work anymore." And then the bull says, "No." So what happened? Then bull explained the story that there was one woman, and Yamaraja is looking at his books, and he says, "Oh my God, this woman has done so much pious activities that we eliminate all your punishment of going through the cycle of birth and death. You don't have to go anymore through 8,400,000 species of life. But instead of that, Shushinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Brasthavi Jayate, just like a good Brahmin who was very pious and devotee, and suddenly if he dies, and then again he continues by taking a birth in aristocratic or a pious family, you will get that kind of birth, although you don't have anything on your own. But this woman has given you treasure, so much that we eliminate all those births, and you will be born in a Brahmin family again." So Susharma was born again. Now what happened? That when he was born again, he was able to remember his past life, because now he has to start from scratch his spiritual life, and it is the duty of the super soul to give him remembrance or forgetfulness. He says, if I make him forget everything, then he would not know where to start his spiritual life. So super soul says, let me give him some memory of the past. So he started walking, and he says, I have to start my spiritual life, but where to start and what to do? He came to the spot where he had left his body, and he asked the people that, I remember I was a bull and I was dying right at this spot, and one lady helped me. He said, yeah, she lives right there. So they showed that this is the place where the lady lives. Now the time has passed and she's a little old, but still, when Brahmin went there and he introduced himself and says, Mataji, you remember me? He says, no. He said, I was a bull. I was dying. And you gave me all your pious activities. Oh, yeah. But only thing, what I feel sorry, that actually I did not have any pious activities. I just said those words for sake of saying, as a prayer. But he says, no. After I died, I went back. And you know what happened? They forgave all my sinful activities and they gave me birth as a Brahmin. And I want to start now spiritual life. I just want to know what kind of pious activity you must have done that it helped the dying soul. Not only that, but all my punishment of going through the 8,400,000 species of life, it was all vanquished. And I was given a new birth as a Brahmin. So that's why I'm here. What do you do? And how did you do? And the woman kept insisting that, no, Prabhu, don't misunderstand. I don't do anything. I have only two people in this particular house, myself and my parrot. So he said, parrot? He says, yes. I don't have family, so I need to talk, So sometimes I start talking to the parrot. And the parrot says, listen, lady, I don't have any time to talk to mundane talks. All I talk is Bhagavad Gita. So I was surprised. I said, what is Bhagavad Gita? So the parrot says that before you bought me, I was actually a free bird in one ashram where a sage was chanting Bhagavad Gita early morning after taking a bath. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, samaveta, yutsava. And I used to hear that. I liked those words. And I had a photographic memory. I could remember those words. I could even speak those words. And from verse number 1 through all the way up to Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Parthor Dhanudhara, Tatra Shi Vijyo Bhuti Druvani, Thirmatir Mamaham, I was able to remember that, and that's all I do, day and night. Whatever important verses are, I have been chanting. So if you want to learn, repeat after me. So this is how the parrot taught me the Bhagavad Gita. And I don't know whether that is a pious activity that help you, but actually I don't remember any kind of donating money or reading scriptures or attending the lectures or going to temple or worshipping. Nothing I have done. So the Brahmin says, where is the parrot? He says, in my bedroom. So they went to see the parrot. And parrot again taught this Bhagavad Gita to that Brahmin. And he was very pleased in his heart. And then Lakshmiji asked, what happened to those people? Now this is like when you see some documentary or a movie, in the last 2-3 minutes, the director has to wrap up the story. So what he's doing, that what a samambonam of the conclusion of that particular story, he is presenting in like some sentences or some sins or something that touches you. You get the idea behind this whole 3 hours of watching, and that conclusion you learn in last 2 minutes. So when Padma Purana, that last part, when Lakshmiji is asking, where are those people? What happened to them? It was so dramatic that Vedvyas has put that Mahavishnu at that time, he raises his 4 hands. Mahavishnu is raising his 4 hands and he says, this is the sage who was chanting Bhagavad Gita in the ashram. This is the parrot who learned Bhagavad Gita from the sage. This is the prostitute who learned Bhagavad Gita. And this is the Brahmin who finally was saved from cycle of birth and death. This is Shankh, Chakra, Gada, Padma. This is my conch shell, this is my disc, this is my lotus flower, that is my club. For you these are the weapons, but those 4 souls are right here. In Padma Puran, Vishnu says, those people came back. Now Prabhupada always says, we always want to go back to Godhead. And we think what we are going to do. Some dishwashing, some will do some laundry for Vishnu, some will massage his feet, some will, all kind of services we will be doing. But no, these people, Vishnu says, this was the first parampara in Bhagavad Gita, that those 4 souls, they are here, right here, and I have selected them as my weapons, and I always keep them always with me. They stop also coming back to Godhead, but they are engaged in different services. But these are so dear to me that I have kept them as my weapons. So this is not only explaining this particular verse, that when you work, that's all right. But at the same time, you neglect Krishna, what happens? And at the same time, when you focus on Krishna, what happens? So, like they said, I have to stop at this moment because of the time. I can see the clock. And they here say for questions, but I would rather add comments after my speaking, because the purpose of reading this particular book, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad Gita, is to eliminate the doubts. And when you ask a question, it proves that you are a doubtful person. There should not be any doubt after listening to Bhagavad Gita. What doubts what questions you are going to ask for? Unless you want to taste the speaker, then you ask question. Whether the speaker knows this or not that, something that I know, speaker doesn't know, then you can ask. But that's not even a right attitude to test the speaker. Once you listen to lecture, then all doubts must be diminished, vanquished, right? So this is what even the Bhagavad Gita is teaching. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. Who is speaking? Dhritarashtra uvacha. Why Dhritarashtra is asking? Kima kurvata Sanjaya? It is question, right? Kima kurvata Sanjaya. Why is asking? Because he is ignorant. Who is he asking? Sanjaya. Sanjaya is his guru. Whatever Arjuna is listening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Dhritarashtra is also listening through Sanjaya. Both had doubts. Arjuna had a doubt in his mind, and Dhritarashtra has a doubt in his mind. But Dhritarashtra's questions was, Kim akurvata Sanjaya? What did they do? Instead of that, Arjuna is so obedient. Yad tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upidakshinti jnanin saddhana darshinaham. So Arjuna is asking, Kim kuru? What should I do? And that's the way one should be asking a question. What should I do? You are asking to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you are asking to Bhagavad Gita. And when you read, it gives you the answer, what you should be doing. And once they answer, that's the end of your question. Right? So if you want to reinforce this particular matter or this particular verse that we were just reading, then it's better to do some comment that, oh yeah, you know in Skanda Purana also there is like this. Oh, you know in Vishnu Purana also, you know. Oh, you know in Bhagavad Gita there is another chapter like this or another verse like that. You reinforce, you decorate this particular subject instead of just dragging into the question. So anybody any comment on this? Can you really help me in building this particular subject more beautifully?
That story it comes from the Gita Mahatma of the Purana.
Yeah.
When I recalled it, I thought it was that they just that was the story that was told because the parrot had only learned the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It wasn't actually the whole thing, but you were saying it was the whole thing, and I was just wondering if it's told a different way in another place or what.
See, these Puranas were written long time back. And many a time when we go through the scriptures, they have different versions. And some versions may interpret in this way, and some version may interpret in that way. But the devotee, for example, like Prabhupada, when he used to write these books, you know, those who witnessed him, they know that he will put about 10 different commentaries by different intellectuals. Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary is there, and Sridhar Maharaj's commentary is there, and so he will put the 7 to 10 commentaries around him, and then he will see that particular area that is writing, and he will pick something from here, something from here, something from here, and he will put. So he has done an amazing service here, because we don't have those commentaries with us. And we don't even interpret the way Sridhar Maharaj interpreted or Baldev Vidyabhushan interpreted, all those things. Or Sanatan Goswami or Rupa Goswami, they have their also own interpretation. And Prabhupada was able to put together those things, and he has given us this thing. So the conclusion in this particular purport, that when it says here, that under the spell of that bodily situation, internal vision can be covered by external activities. So when you get involved in the external activities, what happens? That internal vision, that I have my heart, within my heart there is Krishna, all those things, we forget it. There are chances that we forget. It happened in life of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. They were working with that Muslim Hussain Shah. And in India, there is a new year, they call it. We call it Govardhan Puja. And right before one day, there is a Diwali. In India, that particular Diwali night, they prepare the new books for the business purposes. The whole year, maybe they made like $100,000. So their accounts are there. And then they put that old book away, and then they start a new book with zero balance, and then they start writing whatever dealings they do in their business. So Hussain Shah, naturally it's a big state and big king and lot of money and all that. So Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, they were making the new books, But in old books, there were some errors or whatever it is. So 2 plus 2 is 4. And then if it comes to 5, then they doubt, oh my God, there is some mistake here, that kind of thing. So in solving that problem, they were working. And they didn't realize that time was over, the day was over, and they still kept working. Meanwhile, this person, the servant came, and he says, can I make you something to drink, something to eat? He said, yeah. They are busy, So they just say yes. Meanwhile, the servant brings some food, he brings some drink and all that, and he goes to sleep. Next morning when the servant woke up, these people are still working, because they are so particular. And these are the Muslim kings. They will cut your head off, if you are wrong or you fake something, So they were so much busy, and they had finished their dishes, while working, doing this, that. And the servant came, and with his folded hand, he says, I'm so sorry. He says, what happened? He says, last night I asked you want to eat something, you want to drink something, and I left something on your table. I know you finished it, but I apologize. I made a great mistake. So what happened? He said, light was not enough in the kitchen. And I misunderstood that I was using sugar. But that was not sugar. That was the rice flour. And what I thought, this was this, but this was this spices. And the whole thing was mess. What should be the food, I actually, instead of using the right ingredients and way cooking, I spoil all that food. And I tasted from the leftover over there, and it was horrible. And the drink, in a water, when you mix like rice flour, how it's going to taste, right? Instead of sugar. But you guys ate everything. You guys drink everything. I said, did we? He said, yes, look at your dish. You ate everything. Why? Because you were so busy that you didn't know what you were eating. You didn't know what you were drinking. And they both looked at one another. And Rupa Goswami asked, my brother, can I ask you one thing? Is this worth? Is this really worth? We even don't know what we are eating and drinking. Right? And if he didn't tell us, we would not even know that we were drinking the rice flour. How about stupid we are, We are the most intelligent people, right? They were brought from Ramakeli to serve the king, right? This kind of intelligent people, they are drinking this rice flour and this some garbage, that's put together as a food, He says, no, something is wrong. This is not a work. Better we focus on Krishna instead. And then they get the news that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in your own hometown since last 10 days. It's the last 10 days span, and we are still doing this accounts for Hussain Shah? No, we don't want to do that. And they went to Ramkeli, they took the initiation, and now they are Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So this is what it is that, Paramahamsa I was talking about. The house is a swan, and in the beak it has some kind of power which can separate the milk from the water. So when you put milk and water together, the swan has ability to just drink the milk, because it's like, like a little sour. In the beak, there is some sour taste. So when it goes in the milk and the water, naturally the milk turns into like a separate from the water, and the water is separated and it drinks the milk only. So we should be reading, whatever you are reading, the version of Padma Purana or any other Purana or any other translations or anything, try to get the best out of it. Instead of, there may be something mix up, in understanding. Like I just say, Tunde Matir Binna, whoever is interpreting, who is writing about that, may have different understanding. And that's why Srila Prabhupada used to, just go from one commentary, another commentary, third commentary, and, So this is the approach we should be having. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thanks for joining. Bhagavad Prasad ki jai. We have prasadam today.